Howdy, how are we all? Hope you're good. Oh, give me 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Sorry about that, folks. Needed my cup of tea. Hope you're all well and you're all doing good. Thank you for joining me. A little bit unorganised this morning, but I've got a lot going on, so that's okay. We will do some fun painting. G'day, Colin. How are you, mate? Good to see you. Morning, Marg. Good to see you too, Marg Watson. Hi, Yvonne. Here on time. That's good. I was a little bit late, so I apologise. Good morning, Ann Dawes over in WA. Might be coming over to see you soon, Ann. Early next year, we might be coming over to do some workshops. Morning, John. Great to be on air. Hope you had a great weekend. I've had the last 10 days have just been manic and haven't caught my breath yet, but a fair bit going on. Good morning, Colin. Heather, good morning. Hope you're well. Rosalie in Dargo. G'day, Rosalie. Morning, Lisa. Harpreet Shetra, good morning. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you're not sure who I am, my name's Rod Moore. Over here. It's over there somewhere. There it is. Bang. Rod Moore from the Learn to Paint Academy. So welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, stick around because I'll give you a link at the end where you can go and register for one of our free courses at the Learn to Paint Academy. Morning, Teresa. Welcome. Jemana, welcome. Bonjour to you too. Jim in Ireland. G'day, Jim. How are you? Yeah, you come over to WA. It's a possibility at the moment, Anne, so I'll keep you posted. Keep you posted. And good morning to our friends on YouTube. Welcome. All right, we're going to do a bit of painting today. This is our live stream painting session where we do a painting, which obviously in the time allotted won't be a completed painting, but we will do a demonstration of some painting principles and have a bit of fun. And it's your chance to ask me any questions that you may have as well. So welcome, everyone. Morning, Carol. Good morning, Sharnaz, I think it is. Hello there to you too. Welcome, welcome. Art Taylor, we're going to paint in water mixable oils this morning. I've been out doing plein air painting. I did a workshop and I had some paint left over, so we're going to use some of that up and we're going to have a little go of water mixable oils. However, the principles that we teach are very transferable to acrylic. Okay, so morning, Valerie in Budapest. I didn't realise you were in Beaudesert. I was down there a few weeks ago. Okay, so the painting that we're going to do, let me show you. Over, when was it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It seems like a lifetime ago. I was doing a little plein air painting workshop for 3 days. 1, 2, 3. In Noosa. And we had a lot of fun. It was hot and quite tiring. But this is one of the little demos that I did on Noosa River. As you can see, I didn't finish off the edges and stuff. Got a little bit damaged on the way home. Got some bugs in there and sand. All part of the fun of plein air. But I like this because it's a high key painting. And I thought we'd have a little go at replicating this in our live stream today, if that sounds good to you. Because especially with seascapes, I see so many people paint their seascapes, their sky and their water, and even their sand. And I've done this plenty of times myself, painting it way too dark. And a good seascape is probably more of a high key painting than a low key or a darker painting. So the only darks in this are really that little wedge there of this little outcrop of foliage here. Okay, so we're going to have a go at replicating this as a little high key painting. As I painted it, as I was demonstrating it and helping our students, the tide was dropping, and you can see I've got this sort of sandy, shallower water here. That actually became a sandbar, and it looked fantastic. So I'm going to just fool around, make it up, and do something along those lines. I've got no idea where I'm going to put it, maybe just there, for you today. Hope that sounds good. Hope that sounds good. G'day, Gail in New Zealand. Welcome to all our friends in New Zealand. G'day, Richard. How are you, mate? Good to see you. All right, let us get underway. That's what we're going to do. And there's no point mucking around this morning. So I've had a flat out 10 days. Everything from bushfires to U2 concerts to plein air painting workshops to filming videos and editing them. It's been manic. Okay, so looking at our palette here. I've got my French ultramarine blue, my standard blue. I've got permanent alizarin crimson, and I've got yellow ochre. Okay, so they're my three base colours that I always use, and titanium white. A lot of titanium white because we're doing it high key. And what else have I got? I've got cadmium red, and I've got cadmium yellow light, and I've got a little bit of Viridian or phthalo green. I'm not sure which one it is because I squeezed it out some time ago. So we'll work it out. Okay, so step one of the Moore method of painting. Now, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, the Moore method of painting is the way we teach at the Learn to Paint Academy. And it's a way of just simplifying right down the whole process of painting to make it really easy. Now this painting, I lowered the horizon line right down so that we had the that little foliagey croppy, that little outcrop of foliage there. So I'm so tired I can barely speak today. It's sitting around about there. Okay, pops out to about there, and then behind that there's another little row of trees. And this was a really interesting subject because I wish I had a photo I could show you when I was demonstrating to our workshop group. So this is actually done on Noosa River, right? So it's where the river meets the ocean. It's the river mouth. A really nice little spot. And when I was demonstrating it to our students, I was trying to explain to them the importance of deleting information, right? Because there was a lot more in this subject. There were buildings and, there's so much there. And I was trying to explain the importance of simplifying right down to the key parts of the information. And that's what I want to get through to you guys as well, is that you don't need to put everything in. Just because it's there in front of you, it doesn't mean it needs to be in your painting. Alrighty. So that's step one of the Moore method of painting. I've got my little drawing done, right? I don't need to draw in the water. I don't need to draw in the sky. I've got my little subject there, which is that headland, and keep it really simple with the drawing. Just find those few big shapes and pop those in. If you get the big shapes in the right places, then you're off to a good start. Okay. G'day, Anne in Ireland. You're in Ireland as well. Got a lot of our friends from Ireland. Good to see you all. Beverly, Ontario, welcome. Good to see you again, Beverly. And cool. All right, so that's pretty easy, right? First step is to get the drawing in. And so there's a little demo painting that I did. There's a little headland there, and there's the distant one. Really don't need to do much more as far as the drawing goes. So that means we'll move on to step two. Step two. So feel free to ask me any questions, because I am here to help you guys. I want to make sure that you get the maximum benefit from me doing these. Because I'm not always going to be doing live streams. I'll probably be doing less next year. Possibly. And I don't think, I'll have to check for next week what we're doing, because I've got a fair bit on. So while we're doing these ones that we are doing, it's a good opportunity for you to ask any questions. And there's tons of recorded live streams on our Facebook page, so you can always go back and review those. Okay, so I'm mixing blue and red. I'm looking for a dark, but I'm going to add a little touch of the cadmium yellow in there. Okay, why am I adding the third primary into my dark? Why would I add the third primary into my dark? I'll pose that as a question for you guys. Okay, Steve in WA. Steve, you're in WA. I was just saying earlier. G'day, Val in Adelaide. Steve, I was just saying earlier that there's a possibility that I might be coming to WA maybe around March, April. next year and doing a series of one-day workshops teaching the Moore method of painting. So if that's of interest to you, mate, look out for that. Okay, so I'm just blocking in a dark here. This is step 2 of the Moore method of painting. It's getting in our darks. Right? It's blocking in, getting colour down. Very important step. Why do I start with I always start with the darks and build up to the lights, which is a traditional sort of way of working with oil paints. If you've painted with oil paints and you've had trouble because you put your lights in too early, you'll know that the whites will overpower your darks. Hence, it's better to start with your darks and then work to your lights. And so because I've also taught in acrylics as well, I've taken that same approach to acrylics, which some people have been painting acrylics for a while who haven't done it that way. They don't quite get it until they start trying it, right? So you've got to try it and see. Okay, what size brush? And I have no idea. It's a big one. It's long since, it's got a number 12. I don't know what that means, but it's about a 1-inch large brush. I use large brushes for most of my painting. Okay, so I use cheap brushes. These cost a couple of bucks, and they're flat brushes. They're natural hair rather than synthetic, and yeah. So I get a couple of bigs, a couple of mediums, and a couple of smalls. But I really don't pay much attention to the numbers and stuff on them. Okay. Rosalie says to grey the colour off. Yes. So it's not too purple, not too saturated. So well done, Rosalie. Steve says fantastic to WA. Awesome. Heather to grey it off. Yes. Carol to tone it down. Absolutely. No worries at all. And my pleasure. Okay. Good, good. So we've got a nice little tone of grey there, or dark. Let us now move back. To move back in distance, we need to do a couple of things. We need to lighten the value. So I'll take some white and I'll pop it in there. I'm not going to completely obliterate that mix because I want to better compare, right? So I'll lighten the value and we'll cool it off. So we'll push it more towards the blue, okay? But it can't be completely blue. It's got to be a bluey grey, okay? And you can see in my demo, all I did was just, I'll just hold that up there. You can see it's just a purpley bluey grey through there. I didn't even bother putting highlights on it, just because it was pretty damn hot and everyone was getting a bit fagged out by it, but not to worry. So I'll just get that tone darker. Okay, so you can see on the mix there, this is what we mixed for the first closer area, and this is what we're mixing for pushing it back in distance. Okay, so whenever you create a new mix, you want to come up here and just do a test and say, okay, does that look like it's going to be behind? And I feel pretty comfortable that that is going to look like that. But what I want to do is I don't want to have a flat edge there. I'm just going to push trees up into it, start to get a bit of a interesting shape happening rather than just a flat line along the top. Okay, how easy is that? Super, super easy. All right. Now I want to create like because I got this, all of the weight is going to be here. This is where the highlight's going to be. It's on that 1/3 mark, right? Carefully positioned there. So I want to counterbalance the weight of that with maybe a cloud over here. So I'm going to put, it was fairly grey in the mornings when we're out painting, so I'm going to grey off the lower part of the horizon. I'll get bluer at the top, and we'll pop in a cloud with a bit of warmth in there. If that sounds like it'll work, sounds like it to me. Okay. So I'm a bit dehydrated at the moment, so I'm slipping down my herbal tea. Just got a few little repeating shapes in there, which we'll obliterate those in a moment. So you can see on my brush, it's quite loaded there with the darks. Now I want to go into the sky. Okay, the sky is going to be a fair bit lighter in value. So I'm going to take the same brush, but just a different one. I could clean that brush, but I find it easy to have a brush for your darks and a brush for your lights. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a chunk of this white here. I'm going to pop it there. Then we're going to take a little bit of this distant colour into that. Okay, maybe a little bit more. And we'll just use that to grey the sky, but I do want to have it slightly warmer, feeling a little bit cool to me. So therefore we'll get some yellow ochre. Okay, this is bad colour mixing practice. See, I've got my brush fully loaded and I'm going into my yellow ochre. That's just going to make it all muddy and dirty, but it's just the nature of the way I paint often. Okay, so you can see that that red is quite overpowering, so I'll take another chunk of the white. I will use that red like that, but I'd like a lighter tone initially. Okay, that's getting closer to what I want. It's a grey, but it's warm. Okay, now this is thick paint. I was using thin paint over here. I was watering it down for that part, but now I'm coming to the sky. I'm going to use a lot thicker paint. So you can see it's all clogged up on the brush. I'm going to come in here and just scoop it up like that. And then I can use this thicker paint, because it is thicker, I can use it to reshape top of this tree line here. Okay. Just by cutting back into it. Flatten out a couple of those to avoid those repeating shapes. Okay, and then we can just move that paint around a bit more. Now, I don't know about you, some people like a sky that's perfectly blended with a perfect gradient. I'm not one of those people. I like a lot of movement in my sky, so that's why I use big chunks of paint like so. And I like to push that paint around. Okay. So we've got a nice warm grey in the bottom of the sky there. Part of which we can use then as part of our cloud as well. Very good. Morning, Darlene. Good to see you. G'day, Gail. Jenny watching and loving it. Good on you, Jenny. That's the spirit. Morning, Lynn in the United Kingdom. Good to see our UK friends and our Irish friends here. I know it's not a convenient time for you, but I appreciate you tuning in. All right, so now we've got our warm grey in the sky. What I'm going to do now is we're just going to take that more of that white and start to get a little bit of blue into that. Because above that sort of low-lying grey, there was all this blue sky starting to break through. Just going to get a little pinhead of water into that. And what I'll do is I'll just work that down to the grey. I won't try and connect it just yet. I'll just work it down to there. Okay. And as we get higher up, I'll darken it off, and I want to have my two corners there to be my two darker parts of the sky. So I'll get a bit more blue in there. Okay. Why do I want to darken off those corners like that? Do you think? If you had to guess. Why do you want to darken off the corners? It's a good question. It's a good one to know if you're an artist. Okay. A lot of paint up there now. Why do we want to darken off those corners? That is the million-dollar question of the day. G'day, Marie. Good evening to you. Gail says it's so relaxing watching someone else paint. Good. Should be relaxing when you paint as well, hey. Colin says aerial perspective. That's part of it, Colin. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably more about compositionally and directing the eye. Like if you have your corners dark, pushes the eye back in to the painting. But But yeah, it's part of aerial perspective as well, creating the gradient upwards. Okay, so now I've got a lot of paint on there, and what I need is paper towel. And wouldn't you know it, oh there it is, I do have a little bit left. That's cool. So I'll take my brush and my paper towel, I'll just pull all that paint out, like so. Okay, try and get that brush fairly clean. Give it a bit of a swipe on the backboard. And now, where I've got these connecting parts here, I can just come in, I can just softly feather them together, and I'll pull some of the blue down into the grey, and some of the grey into the blue. And connect the two areas. Okay, don't try and do that with a fully loaded brush. That just won't seem to work. All right. Oh, a few answers coming in. Well, it's good to know you're listening. Teresa says to add weight. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, possibly. I can see what you mean there. Carol says to stop the eye running out off the page. Yep, definitely. Just a little bit of a subtle darkening in that corner, in those corners. Yvonne and Darlene both, well, Yvonne says to keep your eye running off the canvas. Yeah. But it's probably more what Yvonne says, to bring your eye into the painting, bring it back into the middle of the painting, or the focal point of the painting. Lynn says, you're giving me inspiration to carry on with my painting. Well, that's awesome, Lynn. Glad to hear it. Marie, to bring the viewer's eye to the centre, yes, or to the focal point. Gail, love all the info you give. Dinner will be delayed at our house. That's good, Gail. Thank you very much. Heather says to keep focused on the subject. Indeed, that is our main goal, isn't it? It's to control the eye. Well, it's not our main goal, but it's one of our objectives as artists, is to control the eye in the painting, move it towards our focal point. There's different strategies for doing that. Okay. All right. Alrighty, alrighty. Get in there. So now I'll come down and I'll do this water. Nice turquoisey colour with our water. So I'm going to use my light brush again, but I will clean it this time. To get some of that grey out, I'm going to try and get more of a cleaner colour now. That doesn't sound good. Helicopter's overhead again. Clean brush. Now, I'm going to try and get that colours a little bit cleaner, so I'll just use my little knife here. Get some yellow ochre, we'll get some cad yellow light, we'll get some, I think it's Viridian, that tone there. We'll pop that there. And chunk of white, I'll pop that there. So I need to be able to push this colour in different directions. So the first tone is a fairly light tone. It's got a little bit of the Viridian in there. Okay, I don't know how well that's translating for you guys. That's too yellow. Yeah, it just washes out a little bit on the studio camera, but that looks about right to me. Pinhead of red, perhaps. There we go. Just grey it back a little. Okay. So I'm going to get a little touch of water so it flows a bit better. So if you're using acrylics, exactly the same process here. And come down to this horizon and we'll just push that in. Okay. So this is Noosa River, where it runs away up the river. And I live a fair way up the river in the next town. And it's a beautiful part of the world. We had a great 3 days with our workshop. We painted 2 days at Noosa, and we then went down to Mooloolaba and painted the headlands at Mooloolaba, which was a lot of fun. And thank you to those who came. We had students come from WA and New South Wales and over Queensland. Okay. There we go. So this part here, the water gets a fair bit deeper right through there. And then there's a sandbar and then it gets deeper again. So we will work on that. We'll work on that. Under the live banner. Okay, I'm not sure. Oh, you mean the little live emblem, okay. I can't really move it, so it's just going to have to be bad luck. But it's basically Viridian, cadmium yellow and white, so. Gail says it was in Noosa I saw my first pelican. Beautiful. We had a couple of pelicans come and join us, which was nice. Yvonne, this is a 9x11 board, this one, but the painting that I did as a demo, I think is about a 12x16. Roughly. Okay, so we need to get some deeper water, and I'll try and move my mix over so that it's not under the live banner. I'll pop it here. There we go. So we've got our Viridian, a little touch of the cadmium yellow. Punch it up. Get some more Viridian. A little touch of the white. Not too much. See, I've got that much white on there. I know that's going to overpower it, so I'll just clean it on the board there, and then I'll just come up to it gradually. Okay, and I might just pop just a pinhead of blue again. That's probably too much blue. I'll pop it to one side, clean the brush, and then introduce a little bit to it. Okay. Why am I putting blue? Just to get the color a touch darker, so that we get the feel of deeper water. It's looking a bit flat, that tone. Okay, let's try that. So I really need more paint. I've mixed that up a little bit thin. Because what I want to do is load the brush up and just do this in one stroke, but it's just probably not going to happen. I should have squeezed out more paint, but not to worry. Okay. Yeah, I have to squeeze out some more paint. I'm not happy with that. Bear with me. So what questions do you have of me? Evelyn, this is water mixable oils. However, the process exactly the same for acrylics. I paint it exactly the same process. Lynn says, I've always had a problem with composition and using my imagination without the use of using photos and other people's outlooks. Well, Lynn, I'd highly recommend maybe doing some plein air painting. You know, even if you just go outside with a sketchbook and looking at nature, because nature provides us with all we need. If you're a landscape, seascape painter. So that's probably what I'd recommend there. Hi Carolyn, how are you? G'day Michelle in WA. Michelle, you may have missed it, but there's a very strong possibility I'll be coming over to WA in March-ish, April-ish to do a workshop, so or a series of workshops. So I'll keep you posted. No worries, Yvonne. Therese says it's a lovely green. It is. Beautiful green. Carolyn says, I've just signed up to learn from you. I appreciate all the basic teaching. That's awesome, Carolyn. Welcome. Great to have you here at the Learn to Paint Academy. Very much appreciate it. And for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, hello Molly, my little studio cat Molly's just joined us. If you're tuning in for the first time and you want to learn how to paint with us, then stick around. I'll give you a web address to go to where you can register for our free course. Okay, so we've got a bit more paint. Hello Molly, how are you, sweetie? She's a little bit upset about having to be relocated in our bushfires, but she's almost back to her old self. Okay. So we want to make, this is going to be darker so that we get a feeling of deeper water. Okay, run that through to about there. Okay, then there's going to be a little sandbar. So I'll just leave a little gap and then I'll punch up the green a little. So yeah, I've made it a bit warmer with a bit more cadmium yellow in there. Same principles apply in the bottom two corners as well. They should be dark, not lighter parts of the painting. But you can see that they're pretty dark there at the moment. But what I could always do is just punch in a little extra dark in like so. Now I'm not going to blend it in so that you can see that it's there. Okay. How are we looking, folks? Are we on track? Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. Yeah, everyone in WA, just let me know, yes, if you'd be interested in coming along to a one-day workshop, and then that'll help us organise it. Lynn says, I'm loving this, giving me so much confidence. Oh, that's good, Lynn. Thank you. Confidence is a big part of it, but you get confidence by learning a few basics, which is what we teach at the Learn to Paint Academy, and painting a lot. Yeah, just get the brushes out and keep painting. And, you know, you'll have good days and have bad days, as we all do. The key is to learn from your bad days and to celebrate your good days. Okay, so now I'm mixing up a much lighter tone with more yellow ochre in it. Why am I now going to yellow ochre? I'm going to do that sandbar-y area, but why yellow ochre, I ask you? What's the significance of putting yellow ochre in there instead of the cadmium yellow light that we've been using? Okay, so definitely got the feel of deeper water in that more distant section. But why would I go to cadmium yellow in that spot? Yeah. Thanks Colin and Evelyn, who are both saying it looks great. Anne says yes to WA. Teresa likes the sky. Yeah, I'm going to come back to the sky. I think we'll pop a few little whimsical clouds in there. But thank you, Teresa. Rose, good morning from WA. G'day, Rose. We do have a couple of courses in watercolour. I'm going to invite another artist to add courses in watercolour to the Learn to Paint Academy. But Rose, if you're in WA, we're going to be coming over and doing some acrylic and water mixable oil classes in probably March, April. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Yvonne, come to WA. Awesome. I forgot you're in WA, Yvonne. But yes, awesome. Carolyn, you lay your brush across the canvas to lay paint down. Others seem to crisscross. Painting the water here, Carolyn, and you want to keep your water flat. That's what part of the reason why. And you know, in the sky, I was doing a whole lot of different strokes in different directions. I don't like the crisscrossy method taught by Bob Ross and so on. I think that's probably doesn't work for me. I know people do like. I love Bob Ross, but I don't think it's. I think it's effective to a degree, but if you want to really master painting, you really need to break free from that sort of style. Heather, yes, to reflect the sand. The water's shallower, so we're going to have the sand bouncing through. Yvonne says to keep it warm. Yep, absolutely. Warming it up as you come forward. Yeah, I was probably thinking more, Rosalie, about the shallower water and so on. G'day, Matthew in Ireland. Awesome. Michelle, hints of the sandbar. Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Our friends on YouTube are being very quiet, but feel free to ask me a question if you're over on YouTube channel. I'm here to help you guys as well. Okay. So. It's all right, Molly. Let's get in more of a yellow ochre-y tone here now. And I'll just paint in that sandbar. Just soften it in. Don't do that with traditional oils, of course. Probably shouldn't be doing it with water mixable oils either, to be honest. Bad habit. Need to get gloves. Okay, how are we going for time? Oh, we've got a little bit of time. I better speed up a bit though. Okay. Better speed up a bit. Okie dokie. Get some pure white. Get some yellow ochre. That. Mix that all around. That needs to be lighter. Get a little bit more white. Take a little chunk of that and pop this in here. Okay, now we need to get in some greens on those trees. Just so happens that we've been fooling around with green in our water. So we want to pretty much keep it the same family of greens, don't we? I'll pop in a little bit of red just for a touch of interest there. And it's going to be a little bit darker than what the water is in part. But I'm just going to use the flat brush and I'm just going to just drag down in parts here. You can see how that white just overpowers the darker tones, but that's okay. Now, if you're wondering what direction the light was coming from, it was coming from everywhere. There was no real definite source of light. It was about 2 o'clock when I did this painting. And it was hot and it was bouncing around all over the place, reflecting off the water. So there was no real definitive light and shade that we might normally look for. And it was glary. So I kind of did the best that I could in the glary heat. Tough life being an artist. Tough life. Okay, get a little bit of work on there. Starts to pull it all together. Okay. Yep, Michelle, correct, yeah. That sort of sandbar there. Hi, Lisa. Thank you, John, appreciate that. Lynn, have you ever dabbled in acrylic pouring? No, I haven't. Yeah, no, haven't done. I like actual painting, painting landscapes, seascapes, and trying to get reasonably representative of it. I wouldn't say I was a realist painter at all, but I do like to have a subject to work from, even though I'm pushing some of my work a little abstract, but acrylic pouring just doesn't appeal to me. That's not to say that in the future we won't have courses on acrylic pouring in the Learn to Paint Academy, as we invite other artists to add courses in there and so on. Okay, just soften out a few little bits there. Okay, now what are we going to do about that little distant do we put any maybe a little bit, but that's probably the wrong tone, that's too bright. Maybe a little bit of blue into that. And a tiny pinhead of the red. And we'll just clip into some of it. A lot of thick white paint in there, so I've got to be careful. I'll just clip into a little bit of it and just smudge it out a bit. Don't want any detail at the back here. So there were, buildings, there's resorts and everything lining the river embankment down there, but seriously, that's the last thing I want to paint is a resort in our beautiful environment, so I eliminated it. There you go, Rosalie, thanks for joining us. So if you are down Maffra Way, which is down in Gippsland area, contact Rosalie. She's doing a more method of painting class, and she's a very good instructor. So enjoy that, Rosalie, and thank you for joining us here today. Okay. Just softening in some of those edges there. You don't want hard edges in your trees. And we probably need a little bit of water coming in. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you think it's amazing. That's awesome. Anne says, I love a pop of colour with the trees. Yeah, thanks, Anne. It works well against that grey off lower part of the sky. Lynn, I agree with you. Acrylic pouring is taking potluck. Yes, it is. Yep. It's more of a craft type thing, I would think, but it's good fun. G'day, Elaine on YouTube. Really enjoying your teaching. Thank you, Elaine. I'm so glad. Thank you. Now, make sure you stick around because I'm going to give you a link to a free course that we have at the Learn to Paint Academy. If it's the first time watching or if you haven't registered for the free course, I'll give you the link in just a moment. Heather says, I completed the loose, bold and expressive course yesterday. Thank you, Heather. Glad you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I really loved freeing myself up and just throwing paint around. So I'm glad you did that one. And I hope it helps you to get looser and freer. So thanks for that feedback, Heather. Heather's talking about one of the courses in the Learn to Paint Academy, which is a course on loose, bold and expressive, because as we start out as early stage painters, we do tend to get a little tight and a little uptight about our painting, right? So I did a course on my approach, which is probably more how I paint for my own professional, art practice, the style. And we do about, I think, 4 different demos in that one. Soften that water out. It's a little bit too much of a wave there. Just knock that back. Oop. Picked up my light tone rather than my dark tone. Bummer. So at this point in the past, I would have panicked and gone, oh no, I've ruined my painting. Hands up if you've ever done that. You do one bad stroke, it was going so well. And you think, oh no, day's ruined. Maybe I'm not meant to be an artist after all. Other artists are better than me. Sometimes these things, though, you can turn them into, well, Bob Ross called them happy little accidents, didn't he? Paint back over. If that doesn't work painting over it, I can just come in here and scrape paint back. Something I used to be terrified of. It's funny how we get these crazy ideas in our head. But please tell me I'm not the only one. Who has gone through all of that. So we can fix it just by massaging it back and forward, like so. Okay, let's get the top of that sand embankment, the bit that's exposed, right in here. Not quite enough yellow ochre in that, because I used the mix from the sandy shore, but this is a little bit closer to us, so it just wants to have a little touch more of that yellow ochre in parts, and then I can come in and just tidy up around it. Hope it's making sense, everything we've talked about. But basically, what we've done here today is followed the Moore method of painting. I've used basically 3 steps, very simple drawing. You saw me block it in, and now I'm doing step 3, aren't I? I'm doing the refinements, details and finishing touches to it. Actually, I think it probably does want. So let me know, has it made sense to you all today? Have you been able to follow along and think to yourself, you know what, I could do this. I can have a go at this. Because that's why I do the live streams and everything we do at the Learn to Paint Academy, to encourage you to have a go. Probably does want just a little bit of shallower water feel just in here, doesn't it? Around that sandbar. And again, I can take this brush and just soften that back in. All right, now we get a little bit wild, a little bit loose. A little bit wild and a little bit loose. What do you say, Molly? We get a bit wild and loose? Not right now, she says. I'm busy sleeping under your feet. Okay, let's get a nice big chunk of warm tone there. Balance that off there. So I think we are going to just create a little bit of a cloud. Now, this is not how you paint clouds in a more traditional sort of realism way. This is more a loose, fun way. Don't know if that's translating for you guys because of the studio lights. Hopefully you can see it. Because it does tend to wash out some of these lighter tones, the lights. But notice that we've used a very limited palette, so all of these colours work well together. There's a harmony of the colours. A little bit of a rising cloud. Now I've done that with a palette knife, but of course you could easily do it with the brush as well. Easy peasy. Oh, Molly, sorry, sweetie. All right, where are we up to? Lynn says, thank you so much, Rod. Loved your video. Thank you, Lynn. Good on you. Val, you are very generous sharing your art skills live. Thank you, Val. My pleasure to do that. Debbie, very talented. Thank you, Debbie. Talent comes through hard work, acquiring the knowledge and skills, and practice, practice, practice. Carolyn says, I know those comments. Not entirely sure. I may have missed what we were talking about there, Carolyn, but Lynn says, you have taught me so much. Thank you. My pleasure, Lynn. Thanks, Sue. Good to see you, Sue. Michelle, laugh out loud. Messed up plenty of paintings, just paint over them. Yep. Yvonne says, it's good to see how to correct a blooper. Yeah, because it used to frustrate me with, a lot of professional artists would record DVDs and so on, and never once saw how to correct a mistake, and all I did was make mistakes, so I found that frustrating. Thank you, Heather. Heather says, it's looking great. Teresa, makes a lot of sense. Good, good. Darlene says, yes, love the painting. Good on you, Darlene. Sue, awesome work. Thank you very much. Carolyn, when you use regular oils, do you thin your paint with linseed or something else? Carolyn, I stopped using regular oils because of the chemicals involved with them. And I moved to water mixable oils, and I use water as my medium, and which is a good thing because therefore the exact method that I teach translates directly across to acrylics because I use water, right? I use water to thin down my acrylics, and I use water to thin down the water mixable oils. So I don't use traditional oils anymore, even though we do have a course, a 9-hour course in the Learn to Paint Academy on traditional oils. I've since, having been diagnosed with cancer and whatnot, a few other health challenges, since stopped using anything to do with chemicals if I can, which is why I say I should be using gloves to do this, but I'll take it to that step. So yeah, hope that helps, Carolyn. Yvonne, you make it look easy, but I know it takes practice. Yeah, it does. It does take practice, and it gets easier. You start to, hopefully you've seen the video on the 4 stages of learning, which, once it gets into your unconscious mind, it does look easy to other people. But it's not easy getting there to that point. Beverly, awesome. I want to be sitting somewhere watching the river flow. Good idea. In fact, you know what, Beverly? I want to go out now and sit by the river for you, on your behalf, and read a book. And love the yellow base shade in the cloud. Yeah, it's just to warm it up a bit. There is a fair bit of yellow in some of our clouds. What are you doing, Molly? Hey? Why are you rolling around on the floor under my feet? Heather, one of the most valuable things I've learned from you is the limited palette. Hey, stop biting me. Yeah, Heather, that is a extremely important and often overlooked element of learning to paint. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Heather. It gives a colour cohesion, right? So there's a cohesion of colour through this painting. Nothing's out of place, right? So, you know, if I had 25 colours, then I'd have a mess. And that came about through experience. You know, when I first went to the art supplies store, other way, Molly. When I first went to the art supplies store, I bought 5 or 6 different shades of green, right? And I got sucked into the manufacturers. You know, they'll create a paint shade for everything, and I could never quite get a cohesive look. So I restricted the palette right back, and it helped me immensely. And when I started to teach people to have a restricted palette, then all of a sudden they start to get better results. So good pickup, Heather. Thank you for that. John says, indeed, not only help you with colour mixing, but save some money. It does. It does. It does. Saves with money. Yep. All right. Well, my friends, there's our little painting. There's the demo from Noosa River. They're similar. They're not exactly the same. But they're both nice little paintings. And you know, if you pop that up on eBay or somewhere like that and said, hey, this is Noosa River, high noon, somebody who loves that area is going to look at that and go, wow, I need to have that on my wall at home. And that's the way you do it, right? Colin says, it's been great to paint along with you, Rod. Good on you, Colin. Appreciate that, mate. You're doing great work too, Colin, sharing your paintings in the group. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Obviously, there's more I can do and fine-tune and stuff, but with all my demos, I prefer to take them to about 60 to 70% done rather than fussing with lots of finishing tweaks and details, because the finishing tweaks and details don't really matter much if you can't get the first 20, 30, 40% of the painting right. You know, big shapes in the right places, the right composition, the right tones and values. That's what really makes a painting work. The finishing touches and details are important, but if I spend too much time in our demos and courses on the finishing end, people are going to miss the more important part. You know, the 80% or 60% of success is in getting it right from the beginning. So keep that in mind, all right? Thanks, Colin. Lynn, nice to see your face. Hey, nice to see you too. Super, thanks. Thank you, Evelyn. How do you attach the painting to the palette? Blue tack. Blue tack, blue tack. Just 4 little bits of blue tack. Cheers, John. Good to see you, mate. Thank you, Darlene. Teresa, thank you. Yvonne, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone over on YouTube. Now, if you're first time watching, here's the web address. Please go and register for our free course and tell all your arty friends about it. It's www.learntopaint.info. When you get to that page, you'll be able to register for our free course at the Learn to Paint Academy. And in there, I go through the more method of painting in more detail. I break it down into, you know, why we use a limited palette and what materials and the 3 steps that we go through: the drawing, the blocking, the finishing touches. Go through that in more detail. And there's also 4 different painting demos there that you can have a go at. And I'll just show you. For those who are interested, if you missed our workshop in Noosa, this is one of the other paintings that we did. That's Mooloolaba. So that was a bit of fun, that one. So you had a great 3 days. This is also Mooloolaba. This one's still a bit sticky. That's Mooloolaba Headland. So I was quite happy with those as little demos, you know, when I was teaching a group. Very hot conditions, and I was quite happy that they turned out reasonably well. Something to work with. And that's a wrap from me. Go and check out our web address. Come and like our Facebook page, Facebook group, Learn to Paint in Oils and Acrylics. And I'll see you over at the Learn to Paint Academy. All right? Cheers for now and happy painting. Bye.